All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Unleash, the most legit Celtics podcast in the game. I'm your host, Ev, on episode number 110 today. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. We are looking to do a giveaway fairly soon. We're approaching 700 subs, so please hit that subscribe button. Can't thank you guys enough for the support you've shown. One, on the pregame and postgame show, and then two, on this podcast. And we are going to bring more and more content to the YouTube channel, so make sure you are subscribed to Guy Boston Sports on YouTube. But if you're listening to this show on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or on Google, wherever the hell you get your podcasts, make sure you're subscribed or following there as well. And before we get into today's episode, I got to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by the Guy Boston Sports Store. So head over to GuyBostonSports.com/store. Use promo code UNL to save 20% off. No minimums, no restrictions, nothing. Just 20% off your order, no matter how much or how little or where you're shipping it, anything like that. UNL is the code, 20% off at GuyBostonSports.com/store. We just launched the 4th of July pack, the American flag pack. We launched a new Boston vs. Everybody pack, so head over there, GuyBostonSports.com/store, promo code UNL. All right, jam-packed show today. This is the first, so, if you follow me on Twitter, you probably know that I was on vacation in Florida, and then I had a big golf tournament in the Cape, so I've been gone for almost 2 weeks, and this is the first show post everything that's happened in the Celtics universe. Brad Stevens, taking the GM role, Danny Ainge leaving, Kemba Walker rumors, yada, yada, yada. It's all happened since I've kind of been off air here. And it was funny because, like I said, on vacation, the day I was leaving Florida, I went down there for a wedding. The day I was leaving Florida, not even the day, the minute I started to board the plane to come back to good old Boston, my phone starts blowing up, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm literally walking into a plane right now, blowing up, and then all of a sudden I'm checking Twitter, and Danny Ainge is out. Danny Ainge is out. A couple minutes later, Brad Stevens is going to be the new president of basketball operations, and I am, my mind just is, and all of a sudden I'm on my phone, my thumbs are racing a mile a minute, and we're taking off, and, the flight attendants are like, hey, can you put your tray up? Can you put your phone away? Put it on airplane mode. And I'm like, hey, airplane mode does not work with Twitter. Just saying it right now. But so I was kind of sneakily just trying to keep involved because I had serious, FOMO, fear of missing out of what the hell's happening right now. This team literally is the reason I breathe, and I'm about to get on a plane for a few hours and not be able to stay up to date with it was mind-blowing to me. So I ended up having to, and every plane I feel says, oh, free Wi-Fi. Bull. It never works. So I ended up having to pay $6.99 for, 3 times for 3 hours or whatever, just to stay up to date with it. It's not like anything else came out during that 3-hour span, but I just had such serious FOMO that something was going to happen and I wasn't going to know about it, that I was just all right, I'm gonna eat the cost of buying Wi-Fi just so I can stay up to date with this. But honestly, since that, we've seen some names come out, and we're gonna talk about that on the show. But not much progress. There's no oh, that's the next Celtics coach right now. It's a lot of names. They've gotten permission to interview with a lot of people and whatnot. So we're gonna get into all that in today's show. We're gonna talk about Brad Stevens. Is he sort of is he built for this GM role? I know I've seen a lot of people go back and forth on that, and then we're going to talk about some trades, Kemba Walker being one of them, all that on today's show. But let's start with that Brad Stevens. Actually, you know what? I got to say it because I've tweeted it, and, it's kind of all fun and games, but I do think that there's a possibility, and I guess it's okay to say it now because the topic isn't hot anymore, with Danny Ainge leaving. I think that there's my little conspiracy theory here is that Danny Ainge was kind of wink, wink, nod, nod. Why don't you get out of here, pal? And if you resign, we can roll out the red carpet and, no bad blood type of thing, because things don't really align to me why Danny Ainge would just stop being the GM. Everything he's done in the last few years looks like he has this grand plan, or, he's in it for the long haul. And then he goes and pulls something okay, yeah, peace out, guys, is a little weird to me. And then the fact that the Celtics went and moved Brad Stevens up after a year where he really underperformed as a coach, it seemed a little oh, whoa, let's try and cover our tracks. Let's act like this was a plan. I don't know. It's a conspiracy theory. I wouldn't die on that hill Like I know Danny Ainge has always said he wants more time with his family. He's had health issues. He's been a GM for, 20, like I get it. It makes sense why Danny Ainge would just want to leave, but all the stuff leading up to it, like him being patient at trade deadlines, or him, drafting these guys or keeping all these draft picks, that's the sign of a guy that thinks that he's got years and years and years to work with this team. Not, at the end, let's call it a 3-year period where he's like had some bad drafts and whatnot, or 2-year period for sure. That, and then not doing anything at the deadline type of thing. That tells me this guy is trying to be patient. You're not patient if you're about to resign or retire. So my mind went there. I'm not going to lie. My mind went there and said, it's kind of weird that, Danny Ainge leaves and then Brad Stevens assumes his role. It's kind of like the Celtics felt like they wanted to have this plan in place, so they didn't look like they got caught with their you-know-what in the wind. So I don't know. Keep an eye on that. Again, I'm not dying on that hill, but when you start to think about how things transpired, it wouldn't be surprising to me that Danny Ainge, they kind of asked him, like, hey, man, like, where are you going with this? And he's like, I don't know. And they're like, all right, well, instead of us making this big deal about getting rid of you, why don't you just, resign, and then we'll take it from there type of thing. But we'll see. I want to talk about Brad Stevens in that role, though, because I see people go back and forth on this. I know a couple of the OG fans, we've been talking about it and saying how, well, Brad Stevens couldn't manage 5 guys on the floor. How is he going to run an entire team? And here's what I'll say, because I started to kind of sour on Brad towards the end of last year. Halfway through last year, hell, I was sour on him. But I will say this. I don't think it's fair to correlate, he was a bad coach at the end of last year to now he's going to be a bad GM, because I'm willing to give him a chance. For starters, I will admit he's got a short leash. Like, you can't go from an underwhelming coaching year to GMing bad. Like, that's going to be a bad look, and the fans are going to come for you. The organization might come for you. But what I'll say is everything we've ever said, Brad Stevens is good at. If you have a pros and cons list of Brad Stevens, the good things, get that pen out of there, the good things, are, he's smart. He's calm, decision maker, X's and O's, behind the scenes type guy. The bad things are not engaged in the game, never really goes at a ref, doesn't seem emotional. Those don't really matter when you're in the front office. All those pros that we listed, those are sort of general manager, president of basketball operations, whatever it is. Those are those types of traits. So I'm willing to give Brad the chance. I'm not going to say benefit of the doubt that he's going to be good at it, because I could also totally see Brad getting bent over a barrel and shown the 50 states this offseason. First-time GM, the Celtics are in a big-time sort of what's going to happen this offseason situation, and they have a legit guy with 0 experience, only 8 years of NBA experience as the GM, so I'm not, thrilled about that, but I'm willing to give him the chance. Like I said, not benefit of the doubt, but chance. Because to me, like I said, the pros do sort of outweigh the cons in terms of, okay, well, why did we hate Brad Stevens, or why did people want him fired, and what did you still like about him? All these sort of calm, cool, collected, keeping the demeanor low and doing a lot with a little, those are things that I think GMs can make some bread on. So we shall see. It is going to be interesting. We'll talk about it towards the end of the show too. Just some sort of trades that have been thrown out there. It is going to be interesting to see what Brad does. Is he gonna I don't know. Is he gonna go sort of sit back and just take the easy way of being like, oh, first offseason as GM, I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to see how we do next year. Or is he really going to get out there and possibly try and make some moves and proves that he is going to be a good GM? I don't know. I really hope it's the latter. I hope that he isn't just a Danny Ainge. Just this is my thing. Ready? Here's the negative, and this is why I see the negative. I gave you my take. Now let me entertain others' takes. So one great take would be that, okay, well, if Brad Stevens was involved in all of these draft picks and involved in all of these trade ideas with Danny Ainge, then you just took a replica of Danny Ainge, and what's going to change, right? He's still going to draft the Romeo Langfords, the Aaron Nesmiths, the Grant Williams, the Carson Edwards. If Brad Stevens was heavily involved in those picks, which, I wouldn't be surprised if he was. So why would anything change? You could have that. Or you could have who knows if Brad Stevens was frustrated with how Danny Ainge was drafting. Brad Stevens loves to shoot the 3 ball, Romeo Langford, Grant Williams, like these guys aren't shooters, and they were drafting them at times when they could have gotten guys that do what Brad Stevens likes to do. So I don't know. Like maybe Brad Stevens is like, finally, I don't have to worry about Grant or Shemi or Romeo Langford. And I know Romeo Langford balled out. I'm just using him as an example of like you draft him and everyone's kind of like, what? If he turns out to be a good player for this team, then great. I'm just using him as an example here. But maybe you start to see someone like Brad be like, okay, well, I've lived in the coaching realm through what this team can do, and I don't love it. So let me change it. I just hope it's not what I said. The former argument is maybe he's just sort of like aligned with Danny Ainge, and this team was built how they both wanted it to be built, and all these, not doing anything at the trade deadline, not trading your draft picks. Maybe Brad Stevens aligns with all that, and that's what's worrisome. But the sort of question I wanted to address here is Brad Stevens going to be a GM for the long haul? Is this his, final place? And I think you can go two ways with this. The first and easy way is I think he's still super young in the NBA. Like I'm not even talking, he is young via age, but I'm talking like this guy has, 8 years of NBA experience, and he's now a president of basketball operations of the most historic franchise in the NBA. That's crazy to me. So you could immediately say, hey, he's young. He's going to want to get back to coaching. That's fair, maybe. But what I'm kind of not banking on, but putting all my chips into is everyone that's close to him, all like insiders and people that follow the team and travel with the team, people that I've even talked to that, are closer to Brad than hell I am. They're saying Brad, like as far as they know, like just loves coaching. Never heard a peep about him wanting anything more than being a great coach in the NBA. Talk about going back to my whole conspiracy theory. All of a sudden you take a guy that loves coaching and he's the president of basketball operations next day. A little weird, but it's interesting because if everyone's saying this guy loves coaching and he's still young, relatively speaking, he might have that in the back of his mind that I still got coaching left. I can coach. I still can coach. I can coach. And we've seen coaches do that. Doc Rivers, probably most recently, I guess, but then also Isaiah Thomas bounced around from being a coach to a GM, then back to a coach type of thing. It's not unheard of for a guy to go to the front office and be like, no. I thought I could do this. I thought it was the next logical step after being a coach. But actually, I just love coaching. Like, that's where I'm going to make my money. That's where I'm going to stand out. And I feel like Brad Stevens could fall into that category. Again, I'm willing to give him the chance, and I could eat crow, but I do think Brad Stevens, I'm giving it like 2 years. I think I heard on the radio it was like over under 18 months, and people were saying 18. I feel like he makes it, 2 years. Give it 24 months, 2 seasons worth. Like, I could see that because he's such, like, they clearly believe in this guy. They made him the GM. That isn't someone that you just get, like, they're going to give him a chance. They're going to give him a chance. 100%. Like, you don't, they're like I said, they're going to have a short leash with him, but that short leash, like, I'm talking, they're not going to let him stick around for 15 years if he's sucking as a GM. 2 years is a short leash as a GM. So I'm thinking the over-under I would put, if it was 18 months, I'm going to take the over. I don't know if I want to. Like, I don't really know what to think of Brad Stevens. As you can tell, I don't know what to think of him as the GM yet, but I would take the over just because 18 months seems super, super quick for a guy that they truly, clearly believe in. So yeah, I'm going over on that night, but I don't think he's long for that role whatsoever. All right, next topic on the agenda, who's going to fill in for Brad. We just talked about if Brad's going to be long for that position, but, let's not forget that he left behind a vacancy here. And looking at the odds here, and again, Celtics have interviewed, a handful of these guys, or at least got granted permission to interview some of these guys, but Ime, I've heard his name 1,000 times by now, probably still mispronounce it, but Ime Udoka, Chauncey Billups, Kara Lawson, Jay Larranaga, Sam Cassell, Jason Kidd, Lloyd Pierce, Scott Morrison, Jamal Mosley, Charles Lee, and Mike D'Antoni. Those are the top 10 names in order in terms of most likely, according to Vegas, most likely to least likely there. So Ime Udoka, Chauncey Billups, 1 and 2, Kara Lawson and Jay Larranaga, 4 and 5, and then Sam Cassell's number 5, Jason Kidd's number 6, Lloyd Pierce, number 7, and then after that, feel like it kind of waters down with Scott Morrison, Jamal Mosley, Charles Lee, and Mike D'Antoni. So if we look at that sort of first 6 or first, maybe call it first 7, I think there's some legitimate candidates in there. Ime Udoka, I didn't know too much about. Like, I knew who he was. I've kind of done more and more research. I'm a little bit on the train there, I guess. Chauncey Billups has been my number 2 guy for a long time now. Kara Lawson, I don't see how it legitimately could happen. Like, I think that Kara Lawson would be a good coach here. I just don't see. I feel like that would have required her to bounce around to too many jobs in too little of years, and it might not look the best or whatever. I mean, if it happens, I'm not against it. I think people that are saying, like, oh, a woman can't coach the men's, that's kind of stupid. She's an NBA coach, caliber coach. She's been at college. Like, she's a coach, regardless of if she's a male or a female. That really is a stupid take because she's clearly been around players, and players would clearly respect her. So I don't think the woman coach thing is a good topic here. Then you have Jay Larranaga, the assistant coach right now of the Celtics. That's so interesting to me that he's finally popping up into that. Now, honestly, I might like that move. Like, I get it. He's not a head coach. He's an assistant coach type of guy, but like, he's a guy that's seemingly talking to players and engaged in games on the sidelines. That's what I felt like I was missing from Brad. And then in the number 5 spot, you have Sam Cassell, who is my number 1 choice here. I want Sam Cassell or Chauncey Billups to be the next coach. Sam Cassell head and shoulders above everyone else. So that's sort of my takeaway. Jason Kidd's there. Lloyd Pierce is a sneaky one, but the Jason Kidd topic, I know people don't like him as a person. He's a pretty slimy guy. He's already a failed head coach. I don't really want Jason Kidd as the next Celtics head coach, but let me at least play devil's advocate, and tell you why Jason Kidd might be a fine choice, going as far as fine. Jason Kidd, okay, I'll say this, right? You bring in any of the other people like Udoka, Billups, Lawson, Larranaga, Cassell, those seem like long-term projects. Those aren't fireable people right off the bat. Jason Kidd, the one benefit, and it sounds crazy, the one benefit is that you could bring Jason Kidd in. He's already failed as a head coach in the NBA. If he doesn't click, you could get rid of him within a year and no one would care. You bring in Sam Cassell or Chauncey Billups, that's a long-term thing. You are saying, we're getting into bed with you for a long time. Jason Kidd could be sort of the trial and possible error type of guy that says, okay, well, errors are too much. Peace out, man. And no one would bat an eye at it. All the other names above him are long-term options. So, I mean, it's not the best saying that, his best attribute is that he could be fired and no one would care. But it's worth noting that, if you are just trying to throw something and see that it sticks, Jason Kidd's that stick. Like, that's the guy that might stick. He might bounce off the wall and get your floor all messy, and you got to clean it up, and, we're done. We're in the same place a year later. But one bad year from Jason Kidd, I feel like he's out. Sam Cassell, Chauncey Billups, as much as those are my 2, 1 and 2 guys, you're probably going to have to at least sit through maybe 3 bad years before you even hear peeps of change. And 3 years from now, I'm loving Sam Cassell, but 3 years from now, maybe I don't like that move, but we've already kind of agreed to this partnership. So that's one positive. But again, if I had to rank these, so right now it goes Udoka, Billups, Lawson, Larranaga, Cassell. I would probably go Cassell, Billups, Udoka, Lawson, Larranaga. And I think Lawson and Udoka could definitely flip-flop for the 3 and 4 spot. But to me, it's like Sam Cassell, huge drop-off. Chauncey Billups, even bigger drop-off, and then those other 3 names. Mike D'Antoni, wouldn't hate it. He'd turn Jason Tatum into even more of a superstar, but I don't think that he's a long-term sort of culture type coach. Charles Lee, Jamal Mosley, Scott Morrison, Lloyd Pierce, like those guys are sort of, let's just get another guy in here after Brad. Like, no, that's not a long-term, let's build on this with this coach. Any of those names, I'm sure I'd be fine with. Like, my biggest thing was wanting to kind of hit the reset button on the coach this offseason, and I kind of got my, well, not even the coach. I wanted a shake-up, and I already got my wish. So I'm fine with any of these names, trial and error based. Like, let's figure it out. Let's see what we can do. Because to me, I got my wish with the shakeup, and it was a big old shakeup. It really, really was. All right, last topic of the day. I guess it's the first part of the last topic of the day. Before we get into that, I'm going to ask you guys to head over to SeatGeek.com and use the promo code GuyBoss and save $20 off your first order. They are happy enough to sponsor today's episode, and I am thrilled enough to be able to tell you guys that they're sponsoring today's episode because stadiums and arenas are opening back up finally. in-person fan attendance. Let's go. Be one of those fans. Head over to SeatGeek.com. Use promo code GuyBoston to save $20 off your first order. All right, so we're talking Kemba Walker trades. Now, I'm going to dispel the sort of blockbuster trade right away. No team is going to get like Damian Lillard for Kemba Walker sort of deal. That's just so unrealistic to me. Kemba Walker is not Damian Lillard's level. And the only way I would ever see that is if Damian Lillard literally says, F Portland, F the organization, F my coach, F my teammates, and they need to sell him at an all-time low. But they might even, like a low price might even be better than a Kemba Walker right now. An older player, obviously bum knees. So I saw my guy Jack Simone, Bannertown USA. Go check it out, bannertownusa.com. He brought some realistic trades to the table. Without getting to the specifics, it's more or less, trading Kemba Walker, shedding some salary, trading Kemba Walker, getting, Al Horford back, or doing a trade with the Timberwolves to get, Ricky Rubio and Hernan Gomez. Like, those are more or less the types of trades we can expect from Kemba Walker, and I'm glad he sees that. I think you should see that too, because you're not going to get a, Bradley Beal for Kemba Walker, or a Russell Westbrook for Kemba Walker, or a Damian Lillard for Kemba Walker. If you think you're getting Damian Lillard without giving up Jaylen Brown, I think you're crazy. I do. I think you're crazy. So, to me, Kemba Walker, it seems like he's going to be traded. Like, I kind of want him to be traded. As someone that legit defended him for so long, I feel like the water's too muddy now. Like, you don't come back from it. And apparently, over a year ago, there was rumors that he was going to, he was involved in trade talks, and that soured sort of the vibe in Boston with him and Danny and Brad and everything. Makes total sense. It makes total sense. So I think you're past that point. I've defended Kemba Walker. I said he's not the problem, which he wasn't. But you're paying him a lot of money to fix the problem, and he's not fixing the problem. So I'm okay with getting rid of him now. I just think that people need to understand that you're going to sell him at a loss. You're selling a horse and getting ponies in return. Even if the horse is beaten and bruised, you're getting nothing in return. You're not getting someone with the upside that Kemba Walker does have, a guy that can go for 40 in a night. You're going to pretty much just want to move past Kemba Walker. And let me jump down the throat of people saying it was a bad trade. Hindsight 2020, obviously retrospect, like it looks like that trade wasn't a smart move because Kemba Walker got injured. But first and foremost, Kemba Walker was like an Iron Man before coming here. I don't know what it is. Hayward, Isaiah, Kemba, even Kyrie to an extent getting injured. Like, people come here and just get injured. I don't know what it is. But when you think about it, like, Kemba Walker was an all-star his first season here. He worked to start as, they lost Kyrie. They got Kemba. It was a good trade, or a good signing, I should say. That was not a sort of, oh my God, look at that. That was terrible. Just like the Kyrie trade, and we all hate Kyrie. You still do that trade as much as we all love Isaiah. Me especially love Isaiah. You still do that trade in the past if you have none of the future context. Kemba Walker's signing was a smart signing. It was reactionary, but it wasn't a bad signing. You just signed a guy that was an all-star his first year for you. Keep that in mind. So yes, it's probably an experiment that failed, but it wasn't a bad experiment to do. Like, it started off hot and things just kind of deteriorated and Kemba Walker ended up broken. Keep that in mind, because it's too easy to be like, oh my God, what a bad signing, knowing that for the past few years he didn't, do what we wanted, didn't make us any better, was injured all the time. Fair. But at the time it was a good move. But yeah, pretty much, I'm on board now with trading him, which sucks. Don't love it, but I am on board with it, even if it's for, like I've always said, I don't want to trade him for ponies, but the horse isn't winning the race, and that's what kind of sucks. But that's where I've kind of come out on it. I don't have any, need to trade this. Like, I don't need Al Horford back. I think Al Horford, be nice to see him here again, but I don't think he's making much of a difference anymore, but we'll see. But anyways, guys, thank you very much for tuning into this episode of Unleashed. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, follow along on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and, till next time, make sure to turn on those bell notifications too. Bell notifications so you get notified when we drop an episode. We're doing giveaways coming up pretty soon. So if you're one of the first people to see the video, you have a better shot at getting in. So we'll catch you guys in the next episode.